Hello boys and girls of grade 5. I am Miss Martina Archer-Semple, and for science today we would be looking at the broad topic energy, but our subtopic is the eye, how we see. After the lesson, you should be able to identify parts of the eye and its function. The eye. The eye is one of the most complex parts of the body. The different parts of the eye allow the body to take in light and perceive objects around us in the proper color, details, and depth. This allows people to make more informed decisions about their environment. If a portion of the eye becomes damaged, you may not be able to see effectively or lose your vision altogether. Now, we have the side view that we're looking at there, and we have the inside of the eye, the front view and the side view of the eye. The front view of the eye is showing us the eyelid, the iris, the pupil, and the sclera. On the side view of the eye, we have the retina, the sclera, the vitreous body, the optic nerve, iris, pupil, lens, cornea, and all the others. The tear layer. Now, the tear layer is the first layer of the eye that light strikes. It is clear, moist, and salty. Its purpose is to keep the eye smooth and moist. The second part we're going to look at is the cornea. The cornea is the second structure that light strikes. It is the clear, transparent front part of the eye that covers the iris, the pupil, and the anterior chamber, and provides most of an eye's optical power. It needs to be smooth, round, clear, and tough. It is like a protective window. The function of the cornea is to let light rays enter the eye and converge the light rays. Let us now look at the iris. The iris is the pigmented tissue lying behind the cornea that gives color to the eye and controls the amount of light entering the eye by varying the size of the pupillary opening. It functions like a camera. The color of the iris affects how much light gets in. The iris controls light constantly, adapts to light changes, and is responsible for near-point reading. Let us now look at the pupil. It is a variable size, black circular opening in the center of the iris that regulates the amount of light that enters the eye. The pupil needs to be round in order to constricted. A constricted pupil occurs when the pupil size is reduced to constriction of the iris or relaxation of the iris dilator muscle. The iris constricts with bright illuminations with certain drugs and can be a consequence of ocular inflammation. Dilated. When we're talking about dilated, a dilated pupil is an enlarged pupil resulting from contraction of the dilator muscle or relaxation of the iris sphincter. It occurs normally in dim illumination, or may be produced by certain drugs or result from blunt trauma. The lens. The lens is the natural lens of the eye, which is a crystallite lens, transparent, biconvex, intraocular tissue that helps bring rays of light to focus on the retina, meaning it bends light but not as much as the cornea. Suspended by fine ligaments attached between ciliary processes. It has to be clear, has to have a power of about +16, and has to be pliable so it can control refraction. What is ciliary body? The ciliary body, the circumferential tissue, a ring of tissue between the end of the choroids and the beginning of the iris, inside the eye, composed of the ciliary muscle, involved in lens accommodation and control the intraocular pressure and thus the shape of the lens, and 70 ciliary processes that produce aqueous fluid. We're now going to look at the vitreous humor chamber. Vitreous humor chamber is a transparent, colorless, gelatinous mass that fills rear 2/3 of the eyeball between the lens and the retina. It has to be clear so light can pass through it, and it has to be there or the eye will collapse. Okay, let's now look at the retina. The retina is a light-sensitive nerve tissue in the eye that converts images from the eye's optical system into electrical impulses that are sent along the optic nerve to the brain to interpret the vision. Forms a thin membranous lining of the rear 2/3 of the globe. Consists of layers that include two types of cells, rods and cones. There is no retina over the optic nerve, which causes a blind spot. This is the sightless area within the visual field of a normal eye. It is caused by the absence of light-sensitive photoreceptors where the optic nerve enters the eye. Okay, now let us look at cones. The cones are the light-sensitive retinal receptor cell that provides the sharp visual acuity, which is detailed vision, and color discrimination, most numerous in macular area. Function under bright lighting. Then we have the rods. The light-sensitive specialized retinal receptor cell that works at a low light level, which is night vision. The rods function with movement and provide light or dark contrast. It makes up peripheral vision. Macula, it is the yellow spot in the small central area of the retina surrounding the fovea. It is the area of acute central vision used for reading and discriminating fine detail and color. Within this area is the largest concentration of cones. Let us look at fovea. The fovea is a central pit in the macula that produces the sharpest vision. It contains a high concentration of cones within the macula and no retinal blood vessels. We're now going to look at choroid. The vascular, which is a major blood vessel, the central layer of the eye lying between the retina and the sclera. Its function is to provide nourishment to the outer layers of the retina through blood vessels. It is part of the uveal tract. Sclera. The sclera is the opaque, fibrous, tough, protective outer layer of the eye, which is the white of the eye. That is directly continuous with the cornea in front and with the sheath covering an optic nerve behind. The sclera provides protection and form. Optic nerve. The optic nerve is the largest sensory nerve in the eye. It carries impulses for sight from the retina to the brain. Composed of retinal nerve fibers that exit the eyeball through the optic disc, traverse the orbit, pass through the optic foramen into the cranial cavity, where they meet fibers from the other optic nerve at the optic chiasm. Extraocular muscles. There are 6 extraocular muscles in each eye. Rectus muscles. There are 4 rectus muscles that are responsible for straight movements: superior upward, inferior lower, lateral towards the outside or away from the nose, and medial toward the inside or towards the nose. Oblique muscles. There are 2 oblique muscles that are responsible for angled movements. The superior oblique muscles control angled movements upwards, towards, right or left. Inferior oblique muscles control angled movements downward, towards the right or left. In conclusion, the eye is shaped like a ball. Light comes into the eye from an object. Without light, we cannot see. This light passes through the part of the eye called a pupil. The light is focused by the lens onto the back of the eye to form an image. This image is sent along a nerve to the brain, where it is interpreted and we see the object we are looking at. Okay, boys and girls, we would have come to the end of our lesson for today. I hope you would have enjoyed or would have learned something about the parts of the eye and its function. Be good, be safe, bye.